With the reveal of one new piece of Diablo 4 artwork, we can now figure out the entirety of Diablo 4's story. Hey folks, this is Riker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the reveal of a new piece of Diablo 4 artwork, a sad goodbye from a member of the Diablo team, Half-Life Alyx absolutely killing it, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the video description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. And right before we jump in, just super quick, we have launched a new merch store on Teespring. We've got a couple products in there, more will come with time, and the awesome folks at Teespring have set us up with a limited run of golden foil apparel. The gold foil Rikers Raiders will only be available until next week. Alright, launching into our first story, which is a follow-up on last week's Gamestop news. Last week we discussed how Gamestop considered itself an essential service and refused to shut down amongst quarantine measures. Well, they finally agreed to close down. Instead, they switched some of their locations into a delivery service. It seems it's overall bad times for GameStop, because after its recent latest earnings call to shareholders, GameStop announced that it would be permanently closing over 300 of its stores this year. Now to clarify, it still will have over 5,000 stores that will remain open. But given GameStop was not profitable for its fiscal year 2019, posting a net loss of $471 million, this certainly doesn't bode well for the company. Moving on to another follow-up story, GDC 2020 has officially been rescheduled to summer. It'll run August 4th through 6th and is appropriately named GDC Summer. Now, in case you're unaware, in the meantime, GDC had streamed some of its talks, and those talks are now free and accessible for everyone to view, links in the video description below. On to some Half-Life Alyx news. Valve's latest game has released to critical acclaim. It's getting excellent reviews. As of the time of this recording, on Metacritic, Half-Life Alyx has a 92 out of 100 critic rating and a 9 out of 10 user rating. This makes Half-Life Alyx the best rated PC game of 2020 so far, and the best rated VR game of all time. Now, I was really hoping that Half-Life Alyx was going to push the boundaries of VR gaming and set a new bar, and it's sounding like it's done exactly that. Now, some other interesting metrics is that on launch day, Half-Life Alyx peaked at about 43,000 concurrent players. Now, as far as games go, generally, this number is on the low end, especially from what you would expect from a Half-Life game. What this effectively tells us is that the limiting factor here is the technology, is the VR unit. Because while the player count peaked at 43,000 on launch day, on Twitch, viewership peaked at about 300,000. And that's with VR games being something that is much better experienced than viewed. It's in no way a comparable experience. Perhaps the most important thing in a VR game is immersion, and there's just no way of conveying that through viewership. So all things considered, those numbers are actually really great. And in an interview with Polygon, Valve said that they believe that Half-Life Alyx will eventually be modded to play without VR, that it's not a question of if, but rather when. Now, in my opinion, the problem with this is that the game was designed from the ground up to be a VR game, to be best experienced as a VR game, and playing it as non-VR simply will not be as good of an experience. But is one game, no matter how well received, no matter how well reviewed, enough to get people to sink hundreds of dollars into an expensive VR setup? I turn the question to you folks. Would you or would you not? In news of other new games that are being well received, circling back to Doom Eternal, its opening weekend sales broke franchise records, doubling the launch revenue of 2016's Doom. On Steam, the game peaked with over 100,000 concurrent players, which was 3 times as many as 2016's Doom. Now, one thing to bear in mind, of course, is the ongoing quarantine situation. Many people are home, many people are off work, many people are bored. Steam has in general been hitting record numbers of players due to the situation, so this certainly was a boost to Doom Eternal's numbers. In other news, we got an alleged leaked screenshot of the cancelled Star Wars 1313 game. First revealed at E3 in 2012, Star Wars 1313 was set to be a mature-rated Star Wars game that followed Boba Fett around a subterranean metropolis on the planet Coruscant. Later in 2012, it was revealed that Disney was buying Star Wars and game dev LucasArts. And while the devs continued to work on the game, by April 2013, Disney shut down LucasArts and the game was canceled. A lot of us were looking forward to that game back in the day, so this is just a little bit of salt in the wound. On to some Path of Exile news. First off, a PSA. Community member Nebuchadnezzar has created a website, craftofexile.com, which is an online tool for simulating costs and odds of crafting. Path of Exile's community is filled with awesome and robust tools, and now this is a new one, or it's seeming like this is a new one, to add to that list. In other news, the GGG devs have announced that they are officially on lockdown. As per the order of the government of New Zealand, they've now had to swap to working from home, but they've assured us that there should be no interruption in service. They will be able to keep working. Things might be a little slower as they have to transition, but otherwise everything should be fine. They did mention though, quote, "There's likely some impact to the Path of Exile 2 development timeline. We are absolutely prioritizing the triaging of live game issues, then the development of new leagues, with development of the sequel as a third priority. A period of slower Path of Exile 2 development is a small price to pay in these difficult circumstances." Now, my personal interpretation from this is that we likely will not even see a demo for PoE 2 in 2020. I think we'll have to wait for early 2021 before we see that demo. And the devs also released this week a new patch for the game, patch 3.10.1, links in the video description to the patch notes. On to some quick Wolcen news. On a stream that included one of the fathers of Diablo, David Brevik, Wolcen Studios CEO Daniel Delouis gave some information on some things to expect coming to the game. We can expect new weapon types like double crossbows and spears, and new skills that'll go with these weapons. We can expect a new endgame activity, we can expect the launch of leagues, and that uniques will be endgame viable in time for leagues. On to some Diablo news. On March 20th, the Diablo Twitter account posted the following message: "All the minions of the Burning Hells remain hard at work, if from the safety of our own homes. In this time, we wish you safety and health. Be well, adventurers. We'll keep crafting new nightmares for you to vanquish." And then they attached an image that many people have been speculating about. The image is a previously unseen piece of artwork, clearly developed for Diablo 4. We see what appears to be imagery of the three great evils, Mephisto, Diablo, and Baal, as these figures share similarities in their appearances to the great evils. We also see a sacrificial altar, before which is a symbol that we have seen in the Diablo 4 opening cinematic teaser. This symbol appeared in that same temple that was used to summon Lilith. Now, it seems pretty clear that this image is attempting to convey some sort of summoning ritual involving the three great evils, but two things we should avoid doing are, one, taking this image too literally, and two, assuming that this is an event that will transpire in Diablo 4. The first reason for that is that, why was this posted? This was posted alongside a tweet that was completely unrelated. The tweet's intent was to convey the message that Blizzard employees were safely working from home, and it feels like the social media person was granted access to post a new piece of artwork along with the post. It's generally good practice that with social media posts, you attach an image that helps with shareability, visibility, etc. So again, the primary intent of the post seemed to be to deliver the written message, with the image being almost an afterthought. If this was posted with some kind of messaging that was cryptic and hinting at something, then yes, I would believe that this is intended to be some kind of a clue. And the other important thing to consider is that there are other pieces of Diablo artwork that we have seen that are not intended to be interpreted literally, and that depict events from the past, not that take place in Diablo 4. For instance, this piece right here. Clearly, this image is not intended to be interpreted literally. We're not supposed to see this and imagine that this exact scene happened, and this is a photo of this scene. This is a scene that's telling a story. What's important here is the message, not the exact contents, and this is a message, a story from the past, depicting the history of Lilith and Inarius and the fight for Sanctuary. So returning now to the new piece of art, is this meant to be interpreted literally? Are those actually the three great evils there? Or did the artist place them there in order to tell a story, to help communicate the message that this is some kind of ritual to invoke them, but they're not literally hovering behind this guy. Then another question is this a temple of the Triune? Again, we have the triangular symbology, we have the three great evils, the three. The Triune was a major cult in the past, so is this a scene from the past when the Triune was at its peak and active? Or is this supposed to be some hint that the Triune is re-emerging now in the future? Is this image meant to tie the past to the present, i.e. the old cult of the Triune to the current summoning of Lilith in an old temple to the Triune? Or is this meant to be a literal depiction of an event that will happen in Diablo 4? The answer is we don't know, we cannot know. We cannot assume either way. Maybe this scene will literally happen in Diablo 4. Maybe it's just artwork to tell a story about the past. Regardless, it's a gorgeous piece. Now on to some sad news. Diablo community manager Brandy Camel, aka Nevelistus, aka Dainty, has announced that she is leaving Blizzard. But it's not due to anything bad, it's actually due to a tremendous new opportunity that came her way. I will link her heartfelt blog post in the video description, please go ahead and give that a read. And in it she teased, very subtly, as she is wont to do, where she's going. Quote, sometimes opportunity presents itself and you just gotta roll the dice. And on her Twitter account, she confirmed that she is moving to Wizards of the Coast to become community manager of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Brandy was a terrific community manager who did a great deal to help usher the Diablo team into this new era of communication. And so she certainly leaves big shoes to fill, but she assures us, quote, the Diablo community will be left in good hands. I've spent a fair amount of my final weeks here preparing to pass the torch to those who will follow in my footsteps and working with the team here to ensure the transition is as smooth as possible. So we'll end this video on the note of thanking Brandy for all she's done for the Diablo community, and a congratulations on the awesome opportunity, and wishes for great success. And that's gonna wrap up this video. But as a reminder, special gold foil Rikers Raiders t-shirts only available for 1 week. Link to that in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind the scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Rikers Raiders for more gaming content.